Winning a championship is special. Winning a championship for Ferrari is something even more than that. The strange thing about Ferrari is that the prestige of winning for them is partly wrapped up in the fact that they haven't actually won a driver's title since 2007. But that's also mainly due to the fact that Ferrari have been the masters in self-sabotage and underachieving, because on many occasions, it's been because they are their own worst enemy. Leclerc is so embedded into Ferrari that it's almost hard to imagine him even wearing a different team's kit. But in F1, nothing is certain, so how long can Leclerc really wait for Ferrari? Leclerc's current contract with Ferrari runs out at the end of 2024, which actually isn't very far away. In terms of how that stacks up with some of the other drivers around him, Red Bull have Max tied down until 2028, McLaren have Lando until 2025, and Mercedes have George until 2024. As far as Lewis, his contract actually runs out this season, but so far the noises have been pretty positive from both sides, with no indication that Lewis wants to retire anytime soon, so expect the deal to be inked for 2 or 3 years, until around 2025 or 2026. With Vasseur joining the team, he's already said that keeping Leclerc and tying him down to a new deal is a top priority for Ferrari. What all of this means is that in these negotiations, it's Leclerc in the driver's seat. But what's going to be interesting to see is if he wants to keep the team hungry and pushing to prove to him that he should sign a long-term deal, or if he feels that signing a deal early and giving the team that assurance that he's in it for the long haul is going to motivate the team and get the best out of them. It's no secret that Ferrari is probably the only team that Leclerc wants to drive for. Not only has he been a perfect fit there since day one, but there is also a personal connection there as well. His godfather Jules Bianchi was on the same road as him as a promising Ferrari junior before he passed away in 2014. Charles has said on multiple occasions that to win a title for Ferrari would be like completing what Jules started, and I feel like he still has that emotional motivation to not just do it for Ferrari and the Tifosi, not just do it for himself, but to do it for Jules. There's no question that Ferrari are getting closer. The problem is that the 2022 disaster class makes you forget the jump that they actually made coming from the midfield. Something that I've said before is that at the end of 2021, when Ferrari and McLaren had fairly similar cars, either of them had the possibility to become a top winning team, but in 2022 Ferrari proved that they actually could make a race winning car, and did make that jump up from the midfield to the front of the grid. That's the type of jump that teams like McLaren, Alpine and Aston Martin are just dreaming and hoping that they could make, and yet Ferrari actually did. I think it does go unsaid and often underappreciated that Ferrari did in 2022, despite all of their flaws, the most difficult thing right. They made a race-winning car. Under Binotto, the team's technical department, given a brand new set of regulations, came out with a radical and completely different looking car to all of the others, and although they couldn't develop it well throughout the season, Ferrari have re-established themselves as a top team. The problem is that although Binotto and Ferrari do deserve credit for getting back to the top, it wasn't an excuse for them to crumble the way they did, because this is Ferrari. They are still the team with more resources than anyone else, and they should not have been messing about in the midfield in 2020 and in 2021 in the first place. Then when you add the fact that during the first half of 2022, when they actually did have a title-winning car, that they were completely outclassed by Red Bull on the operational side, it shows that the team still has a way to go to be a consistent title threat. Now, that was just one season, and in 2023, Ferrari have a chance to prove that under a brand new team principal, that they can bounce back and learn from their mistakes. Despite his obvious frustration, Leclerc will give them time. This is Ferrari after all, and winning a title with them would be worth probably 2 titles with any other team. But if Ferrari do keep letting Leclerc down, and if that frustration starts to build and then affect his performances, he will start having doubts. The next few years are Ferrari's chance to win right now, for the foreseeable future, and by that I mean basically until Leclerc's contract runs out in 2024, Ferrari should be a top team and at the very least in contention for wins and maybe titles for the next few years. Beyond that, there are teams further down the grid that are sleeping giants just looking to be exactly where Ferrari are right now. McLaren are making big infrastructure changes, Aston Martin are basically building and growing an entire brand new team to match the likes of Red Bull and Mercedes, and even when Audi come in 2026 with Sauber, they're going to be prepared years in advance. That doesn't even include any of the other potential driver changes that might tempt Leclerc further up the grid sooner than that. What if Lewis leaves early and Mercedes come calling? What if Max is looking for a new challenge in a driver swap scenario and Red Bull come calling to jump into a title-winning car right now? The problem with Ferrari is that everybody wants to win with them until they realize how difficult it is to win with them, and when waiting for them starts to turn the dream into a nightmare. Fernando Alonso, Sebastian Vettel. A lot of people see Leclerc as a Ferrari driver until he basically retires. But one, I don't think that ever truly happens if you have a long career like Leclerc should do, and two, it's easy to say that now when he's only experienced title disappointment for the very first time, but when it keeps happening again and again, you can't let your talent and opportunity go to waste. In Formula 1, every driver has to try and predict the future. Being at the right place and at the right time is everything. But sometimes when you have such an affinity for one team, it's difficult to see clearly. The question is, when will the Ferrari dream start to wear off for Leclerc if they can't give him a car and keep on under-delivering? And with his contract ending so soon, how long does he decide to wait for Ferrari?